my style, check out my style. I fall from a lane, girl, watch me put it down, baby. She on the road, kick it around in my coupe, me and you just cruising through the town lately. Ask you some questions, can do you mind? What will it take to make it mine, please? Tell me be you and we can try. So I spit true, I change the whole thing. Check out my style, I fall from a lane, girl, watch me put it down, baby. She on the road, kick it around in my coupe, me and you just cruising through the town lately. Ask you some questions, can do you mind? What will it take to make it mine, please? Tell me be you and we can try. So I spit true, I change the whole thing. No, I ain't giving up. I made an oath, I ain't giving up. Whoa, we on the phone getting spiritual. Then I remix the flow, getting in the check out my style. I fall from my lane, girl, watch me put it down, baby. She on the road, kick it around in my coupe, yeah, you just cruising through the town lately. Ask me some questions, girl, do you mind? What would it take to make it mine, please? Tell me be you and we can try. So I spit true, I change the whole thing. Check out my style, I'm far from a lane, girl, just let me put it down, baby. She on the road, kick it around in my coupe, me and you, we just cruising through the town lately. Ask me some questions, girl, do you mind? What would it take to make it mine, please? Tell me be you and we can try. So I spit true, I change the whole thing. Check out my style, I'm far from a lane, girl, just let me put it down, baby. She on the road, kick it around in my coupe, me and you, we just cruising through the town lately. Ask me some questions, girl, do you mind? What would it take to make it mine, please? Tell me be you and we can try. So I spit true, I change the whole thing. No, I ain't giving up. No, I made an oath, I ain't giving up. Hey, we on the phone getting spiritual. And I remix the flow, getting in the air. Check out my style, I'm far from a lane, girl, just watch me put it down, baby. She on the road, can get around in my coupe, me and you, we just cruising through the town lately. Ask me some questions, girl, do you mind? What would it take to make it mine, please? Tell me be you and we can try. So I spit true, I taste the whole thing. No, I ain't giving up. Hey, I made an oath, I ain't giving up. Whoa, we on the phone getting spiritual. And then I remix the flow, getting in the
What's the difference between a child that gets into a top tier school versus a lower tier school? Trust me, it's not.
See, I was born to be a soldier. See, I was born to be a soldier. See, I was born to be a soldier. I was born to be a soldier. Hey, hey. See, I was born to be a soldier. I was born to be a soldier. See, I was born to be a soldier. See, I was born to be a soldier. See, I was born to be a soldier. I was born to be a soldier. See, I was born to be a soldier. See, I was born to be a soldier. Left, right, left. I can tell you what it feels like when them problems kicking in. I call it real life. Now I'm feeling trapped. Who can I trust? Second guessing everything. Who can I love? I remember sleeping on the floor, ready for whatever. I was sleeping by the door. I was down bad, didn't want no one to know. I was on my own, didn't have nowhere to go. Everything I seen was a test. I was born to be a soldier, nothing less. This is the life that I chose. This the life that I chose. This the life that I chose. This the life that I chose. See, I was born to be a soldier. I was born to be a soldier. This is the life that I chose. See, I was born to be a soldier. See, I was born to be a soldier. See, I was born to be a soldier. I was born to be a soldier. This is the life that I chose. See, I was born to be a soldier. See, I was born to be a soldier. Left, right, left. All black is the uniform. Soldier dead and gone, I'm forever pouring liquor for 'em. Try me on my brothers, and I'll be moving bodies for 'em. Came up out the struggle and maintained through the storm. Niggas dying for dead presidents, fucking up their residence. White man dirty tricks, they call this shit politics. Vagabonds, and they some natural born lunatics. That what they is. They shut you down when you speaking truth. It black boots when you in the truth. It black boots when you in the truth. This is the life that I chose, nigga.
See, I was born to be a soldier. I was born to be a soldier. See, I was born to be a soldier. See, I was born to be a soldier. See, I was born to be a soldier. I was born to be a soldier. See, I was born to be a soldier. See, I was born to be a soldier. Left, right, left.
You boy, you know what time it is, nigga. Better watch how you step in, yeah. But that was my nigga, yeah. I'm in it, yo. Got my nigga Rawan with me. But that was my niggas, it'll be an honor. You know what I'm saying? Under commanding General YAHANNA. Straight off the top, I love all of my niggas. That shit ain't gon' stop till we on top and we ballin', my nigga. We be fly as fuck, you know them bitches be stalking my niggas. That shit'll never change and it's the same with all my niggas. City to city, I should be at home. That's what my ribs say. But bitch, I'm grown. I'm in these streets and closed caption. Niggas know we bout that action. If a nigga play with me, then my heart can gon' let him have it. Hey, make you the shit, this truth the shit. Nigga play, I let that Ruger hit. Get on them tracks, they be like, who is this? I'm rude with it. Ain't got no manners. All them pussy niggas talking shit. Y'all know they can't stand us, but we UPK, Louisiana, bitch, that's what I'm ripping. And my niggas solid number, real ones in my section. If you wanna get down, put your boots on, start stepping. Brotherhood is a weapon. Brotherhood is a weapon. Better watch how you stepping, cause brotherhood is a weapon. If I die for my niggas, it'll be an honor and a blessing. Better watch how you stepping, cause brotherhood is a weapon. Brotherhood is a weapon. Better watch how you stepping, cause brotherhood is a weapon. If I die for my niggas, it'll be an honor and a blessing. Better watch how you stepping, cause brotherhood I lay my life down right now for all my sisters and brothers, because I love them. I see them dapping and hug them. It's amazing to see how well we adapt from the struggle. Born again from a life of sin, trapped in the gutter. My mind frame was to kill my own kind. Feeling inferior, waking up ready to die. Run with them killers, so it's just a matter of time. For I take your life or let you take mine. That's when I realized the slaves killing slaves while the white man live to get old. We in them graves. Shit got me feeling played. I opened the Bible, went through them records, found out we was royalty, a nation to be respected. But in this world we rejected, we hated for our complex. Still fighting to get accepted. We hear the truth and reject it, but love is getting corrected. And all my niggas correct me. The commandments, the foundation we erected. Brotherhood is a weapon. Brotherhood is a weapon. Better watch how you stepping, cause brotherhood is a weapon. If I die for my niggas, it'll be an honor and a blessing. Better watch how you stepping, cause brotherhood is a weapon. Brotherhood is a weapon. Better watch how you stepping, cause brotherhood is a weapon. If I die for my niggas, it'll be an honor and a blessing. Better watch how you stepping, cause brotherhood is a weapon.
2. Check.
Check.
Turn the main up. Check. Number 1, hit the twist. Check. Yeah, check. There we go. Check. Most High in Christ. We live? All right, here, clap it up. Shalom, Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shah Barakatah, to my brothers, Yahweh Shamar Alatah Bahashim Yahweh Shah, to all my sisters. I'm priest and officer of 1,000, Bon Kayal, coming out of Fayetteville, North Carolina. And this is the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, coming out of 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commanding General YAHANNA. And what we do in typical UPK fashion on Monday nights is the history class. What you need? The other mic, you see it? No, you too up. What we normally do on Monday nights is go into history. And history is, I love history, first of all. You know, how the hell do you know who you are or what you're supposed to be doing or what your purpose is in life if you don't know about your past, if you don't know about what happened or transpired in real time before you? You know, it gives absolute relevance to the present, okay? Right. Give me the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 32, verse 7, Baba Kusha. We'll open up with that one. And there's a lot going on in the earth today, you know. Right. Give this camp we had this past weekend, give that a hand. Brother, y'all brothers went to war, went to absolute war Sabbath, man. You know, everybody, you know, held true to their office that was there, you know, and it was a glorious thing. It was a glorious time at camp, you know, and camp is growing on me. I can't even hold you. You know what I'm saying? Pause. Camp has never been one of my favorite things to do, but the more time I spend in this truth, I see the inherent value of camp. And even, I know we go out there and we're edifying the people. We're teaching the people. Right. But I honestly feel like camp is for us, man. Camp is absolutely for the brothers. It's for the brotherhood, you know. And we get stronger every time we go out to camp, you know. I'm thankful for Commanding General YAHANNA and the example that he set, you know, for Captain Ayathak and him raising us up, you know, and giving us righteous Lahab and Officer Iraq, and you know, not in any order, you know what I'm saying? But that's our leadership, you know, and it's just a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing when we can gather ourselves together in the spirit of righteousness, you know, to teach the people, to warn our people, you know, because time is short, you know, and we are absolutely behind enemy lines. And I don't even know if I want to start with Jason Aldean tonight. I know the generals, for those of you who have not watched America on Fire, you know, Saturday night after camp or what have you, Captain Ayathak and the rest of Captain Mashak and, you know, Captain Kahan and Captain Kapash, they hold a radio show, you know, and they talk about current events, pressing topics, via the news. And one of the topics was Jason Aldean and his song, you know, Tried That in a Small Town. And I wanted to go over that tonight. But before we get into that, there's an article. What I want you to do is to Google, matter of fact, I'm gonna send it to you. The article is about Black people benefiting from slavery with DeSantis, the governor of Florida, right? Ron DeSantis, he's running for office. He's trying to become the president of the United States. And he is one of the main proponents against woke doctrine and against teaching critical race theory and the 1619 Project and American history as it actually occurred. He is just like any other oppressor. He does not want to be held accountable for his crimes or even the crimes of his forefathers. And that's the beautiful thing about those things that I mentioned, is that they put a spotlight on what happened in history. You know, they always talk about history being recorded by
the rulers of the world by rich men. History is recorded by those who actually have survived, the wars that they create with other men. If you're a loser, you can't tell your side of the story because you're dead. The Native Indian didn't have an opportunity to tell his side of the story when it came down to, the Indian Removal Act of 1830 under that bastard Andrew Jackson. All you hear about is you read about the accounts of the atrocities that transpired upon the Trail of Tears, or all of the treaties that were broken, by America that they had with the Native Indian. There's over 300, almost 400 something treaties that were broken. When you talk about 300 years of Indian wars and Native Indian wars here in America, there has never been a benevolent gathering of our nations. What I mean by nations is our families. We are separate. The beautiful thing about being Black, Hispanic, or Native Indian is that you're God's chosen people, and we are our own separate family. We are our own separate, set apart nation, and we have our own separate, set apart laws, statutes, and commandments that were given to us by the hand of God that we must be obedient to. All right. That's our culture. Those are the traditions of our ancestors. When you think about our forefathers, don't believe the hype. What they teach you in American history, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, Abraham Lincoln, Benjamin Franklin, John Quincy Adams. They talk about all these devils as being the forefathers of America. But the people that America oppressed, we have our own separate set of forefathers, and that's Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob specifically, okay? 12 chiefs over the tribes, man. And we have a 12 tribes chart. If you are a so-called Negro, you would be what we call a Judite. You come from the tribe of Judah. Very, very famous men in the Bible. King David was from the tribe of Judah. Yahweh Shamashiach is from the tribe of Judah, who we call Jesus Christ, right? You think about the West Indians, that's the tribe of Benjamin. The Haitians, it's the tribe of Levi. Simeon is the Dominicans, and Zebulon and Ephraim. You think about the Central and South Americans, man. You think about the Puerto Ricans, people from what's Zebulon? Is that Guatemala? Yeah, all of that. Anyhow, when you run down our family line, our family tree, we are all blood related, okay? If you Black, Hispanic, or Native Indian, don't get caught up on colorism and don't get too hell-bent over the geographical locations of where you live today on the earth. The only thing that separates us because of the transatlantic slave trade and the horrors of the Middle Passage is a boat stop, okay? But at one point in time, we all inhabited the land of Israel, okay, which is the promised land, all right? But that article that I wanted to talk about, if you could just Google Blacks benefited from slavery, you put that in the Google tab, separate tab, pull it up, get it from a source that's valid. We're not doing Wikipedia in here. You know what I'm saying? I damn don't even want to do Fox News, but we try to avoid the spin here. This is the home of the truth, okay? And we understand that truth is absolute, truth is real, truth is valid. And that's what we focus on. That's the way that we live our lives in this place. Had a conversation with a brother at the Slave, and he was talking about nursery rhymes, and those are the things that we're taught growing up in the world. You're taught nursery rhymes. You're taught about Mother Goose. You're taught Aesop's fables. You're taught folklore. You're taught mythology. You're taught old wives' tales. You're not taught anything that is valid, anything that is credible with regard to the truth. We don't teach our children those things in here. We teach our children what we learn. We teach our children about David and Goliath. That's right. We teach our children about Jonah and the big fish. Right. We teach our children about Noah Okay, Noah and the ark. You know, we teach our children about Sodom and Gomorrah. You know, those are the things that we teach our children, and those things are absolutely real. Okay, if you got it. Yeah, yeah. Click. Yeah, the Washington Post. That's a good one. Hopefully, they won't make you pay for a subscription. Oh, damn. Go down. Go down. Yeah, back out of that one. Just back out of that one. No. We don't want that. We don't want that. You got to create an account. Yeah, Business Insider. See the East Indians. They're following and watching closely what's happening with respect to God's chosen here in America. It's concerning to them because what happens with us, you know, will determine what happens with everyone else. You know, where they should shift their money, where they should shift their investments. We are the most expensive commodity. Okay, the first commodity that was sold on the open market. All right, and nothing has really changed outside of, you know, the illusion that you have rights in this place. But the second you decide as a Black, Hispanic, or Native Indian to exercise those rights, you're met with fierce opposition. You're met with resentment. You're met with tremendous challenges. You know, people put obstacles and stumbling blocks in your way. There's a lot of red tape, you know, and there's a lot of hurdles that you have to cross whenever you try to exercise your rights as a so-called American. You know, we do it. We deal with it every Saturday. You know, we supposedly have the right to free speech. And what we do is we have a peaceful protest in the form of a street speaking at our camps. But what happens when we go to camp? You know, the people, the business owners don't want us there. They say that we're bad for business. They say that we harass the passersby on the sidewalk. They say that, you know, we're mean and we're a hate group. And they don't recognize that the things that we're doing, we're reading out of the Bible, point blank, period. We're reading about the Bible. We're reading out of the Bible solely, unlike what happens in the church, where some pastor takes creative liberty with the scriptures. And he gives you a song and a dance and things that make you feel good. What we give you is thus saith the Lord. And it don't feel good all the time, you know, hearing these scriptures. We're crying aloud and we're sparing not. And we're warning our people, you know, about the dangers of joining American society, believing that, you know, we can be one with America and that you too can have your slice of the American pie. All right. That's what we do when we go out in the street corners. We're out there for Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. And, you know, if you're a devil and you walk past the camp, you can benefit from our speaking because the things that we're talking about are going to happen in real time. You can kiss our boots. You can empty out your bank account. If we got sandwich bags, we will hand you a sandwich bag. All right. We're not a hate group. We are very compassionate and understanding. You know, we are the future leaders of Earth. We're actually leading right now. We're leading by example. All right. So just get back to this article. We're talking about DeSantis, Rob DeSantis out of Florida, right? Are you sharing this? People can see this. Just share this, and it's probably too many tabs open. Don't worry about it. But in a nutshell, they're saying in Florida, all that pushback against Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian students learning about real American history and what has actually happened in real time via the course of history to their people and why they live where they live and why they don't have established generational wealth with their families, you know, all those things, critical race theory, the 1619 Project, woke doctrine, all of that. Even them doing away with affirmative action has a lot to do with the oppression of America. The history of America. Is it still doing it? Yeah. So DeSantis says that Black people benefited from slavery or being enslaved by the so-called white man, by the oppressor, by our enemies, according to what the Bible says in the book of Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, verse 68. Okay, it specifically says The people that we were sold to for bondmen and bondwomen were our enemies, all right? You're not going to hear this at Lewis Chapel. They're not teaching this at Abney Chapel. They're not teaching this at Mount Pisgah. You're not going to learn this at True Vine. You're not learning this in any of the Christian churches in Fayetteville, because you're being indoctrinated with what is known as white supremacy. They don't want you to know that you're God's chosen if you're a Black, Hispanic, or Native Indian. They don't want you to know that God chose you above all the other nations to represent him on earth. We are the light of the world. That's what the Bible says. Okay? If it's not coming up, don't worry about it. We can just I hate to clip it. Just hit the yeah. No. Minimize that. Yeah, minimize that. And then go back to the Google Chrome. Click it one more time. Are we in Google Chrome? Yeah, click that one. Yeah, Salakia. Yeah, Salakia to those that are watching at home. We have some technical difficulties. All right. So if you can pull that article back up about DeSantis and just scroll down. Okay, let's get to it.
Check. Khan says government Ron DeSantis of Florida said Black people benefited from some of the skills they learned in slavery.
That's a lie. That's an absolute lie. Because what I don't understand is, what the hell do you think Black people were doing before we were stolen from where we were in Africa? What do you think we were just walking around with a bone in our nose and a plate in our lip like the freaking Africans are today? That's not what we were doing. That's not at all. That is a false narrative. That's what you call fake news. There's no truth to that. Saying that Black people benefited, and I heard some coon, some shade-faced coon, say the same thing in agreement. That bastard is running for what's his name? I think he's in South Carolina, if I'm not mistaken, talking about how we benefited. You know, this is a recurring theme amongst those of us that are traitors You know, we commit treason against our own kinfolk. You know, whenever we align ourselves with the enemy, whenever we align ourselves with the oppressor, you know, you totally reject the suffering and the strides that our ancestors, our grandparents, our great grandparents, everything that they accomplished. You know, you totally, you know, disregard that. You don't take that into consideration. Matter of fact, let's get Deuteronomy 32:7. Let's knock this out.
Kamakan is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 32, verse 7. Remember the
So
days of
done.
old. Consider the years of many generations. Ask thy father, and he will show thee. Thy elders, and they will tell thee.
So like y'all the one you want it. Most High Christ. So read that again. You said, remember what?
Remember the days of old.
Man, remember the good old days, man. Remember them good old days. I remember some of the good old days. I ain't come on the scene till 82, you know, but I remember going to visit my grandma in Virginia, you know, and watching her do them snap beans on the back porch. You know, she would put food out, scrap food, you know, from dinner. And you thought she was feeding the dogs, but she was feeding the raccoons that's coming up out the swamp. You know what I'm saying? I remember those days. But these days, we're talking about remembering the days of old. Let's focus on who we were before we came to the land of the north. Who we were before we went to Africa. Those are the days of old, those ancient times when we had our own kingdom. We had our own empire, man. We had our own rulership, righteous rulership at times. You know, you think about King David and how the kingdom was blessed when he was ruling. Even though David had a lot of blood on his hands because he was at war continually, you know. We were a stable nation, and other nations knew and feared Israel. They knew about us. They knew about our power. Right. We knew who we were. We knew who we were. We knew who our ancestors were. We had our real names. We didn't have the names of slave owners, of slave masters. You know, we weren't scattered at the time. That's what we need to remember and reflect upon. Remember the days of old. Keep reading.
Khan. Consider the years of many generations.
Consider the years of many generations. How do you consider the years of many generations? How do you do that? How are you considering the years, or to take into account the years of many generations? How? Nobody knows? You think about considering the years of many generations. You want to take into account the things that have happened to your family throughout the course of time, over history. I hate the whole civil rights movement. I hate everything about it because it was disgusting. And it's rough to watch your people be brutalized at the hands of heathens. I can't stand to watch our people get water hoses turned on them, you know, or dogs being sicked on them. They got something happened in Ohio, a video of a police canine being released on a truck driver, the brother. And you can hear the other state trooper saying, "Don't release the dog. Don't release the dog." What'd you think he did? He released the damn dog. And you could hear the guttural screams of terror of this brother getting bitten by the dog at the hands of this oppressor. And this is 2023. How far removed are we from, you know, the plantation? I love that movie Django because there was some real visual, I guess you could say, tidbits from that movie that are realistic. Like when they released the hounds. What was that slave that was up in the tree? Catch a Freeman. Good night. And Django. Yeah. Yeah. He said, we ain't paying a penny for that pickaninny. And I know it was a real brutal thing for Jamie Foxx to do that, you know? And they released them hounds on that brother, and them hounds ripped him apart. That is a part of your history. If you're a so-called Negro, if you're so-called Hispanic, if you're a so-called Native Indian, why do you think black folks are afraid of dogs to this very day? It's in your DNA. Anyhow, we got to consider, the years of many generations. Think about the 90s. The 90s was good for us. I know me and my household, it was decent, with the exception of our parents, divorcing. Think about the 80s. How were the 80s for so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians? What about the 70s? Everybody remembers the 60s. Those were very tumultuous times for blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. What about the 50s? DeSantis and all these right-wing extremists and some people on the left too, they're trying to turn back the hands of time to the 50s, to the 40s. Jason Aldean talking about remembering America when America was great. Donald Trump, make America great again. What period of time do you think they're referring to when they make these statements, these dog whistle statements? They're considering the years of many generations. They're considering that they were on top of blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. But we don't consider that. We don't think about that. So much so to make a real active change today in real time. Keep reading.
And Salaki, if I may.
Go ahead, I don't want.
The youth today is a lot different from the youth of yesterday. You think about the zeal that these brothers had, like Fred Hampton and with the Black Party, all them they was kids, man.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? The Black Panther Party, all that was all children. I mean, they was young, is what I'm saying. I mean, like they didn't have a chance to understand the mistakes that they had made, even with, trying to come together. And the government formed a worldwide attempt to shut them down because they was afraid that they were going to join with somebody else. But they came up with the idea to protect the community and feed the children. While, yes, they had the zeal of protecting their people, the government seen them as a real threat, man.
Mm-hmm.
And because they seen them as a real threat, they wasted them away. But now you look at the babies today, if they're not in the UPK, they're trapped with a phone in their hand, huh?
Right.
They take what DeSantis, that is what his name?
DeSantis.
Yeah, DeSantis, they're not even considering the things that he's saying. They're not even concerned with the structure of this empire no more, man.
Right.
Because it damn near seems like they've just come to accept, long as I have a cell phone in my hand and I can smoke all the weed I want, I can twerk to get money. I don't need to follow or understand this world that's around us. And that's what we've fallen into. We've fallen into the trap, man.
Right.
That's the trap. And if they continue to push this narrative into the newspaper, you just like our kids don't know these oppressors' children. They not thinking about the slavery of yesterday. They're thinking about what college they're gonna go to when they grow up.
Right.
They're thinking about what businesses I'm gonna run when I grow up. Nobody's considering the pain and suffering that Black, Hispanics, and Native, nobody considers the bottom. Nobody considers the bottom.
Right, right.
And it's a psychology fact. They call it the three chair movement. Right? You set 3 chairs up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you give everybody a piece of paper. But all the chairs are placed in different, lengths away from the trash can. You ask them to sit down in the chair and take a shot. And guess what they all do? They all sit down in the chair and take a shot. You know what they don't do, Bunk, y'all? They don't ask, why is Kowal chair all the way in the back? They don't ask, well, why Quadam chair is all the way in the room? You know what they're focusing on? They all focused on just making the shot. That's psychology. And if you set up an empire that based on that mindset, nobody's going to be concerned about the people that are all the way in the back.
Right. Right.
Everybody else is going to be just focusing on what? Making the shot. That's what this empire does when you say, let's thrive off capitalism.
Right.
Nobody concerned about the ones that are suffering. Matter of fact, you come up with ways to keep them in bondage so they never get an opportunity to get half of what you already have.
Mm. Yeah, that's a heavy.
Right?
No, you too wild, sir. You too wild. That's a very, very valid point. You know, it is a trap, you know, and we have multiple distractions, you know, in the form of entertainment. You talk about that cell phone, you talk about the video games. They created an alternate parallel universe called the metaverse, you know, that kids spend copious amounts of time in. I had to call my son today and be like, and tell him to take a break and go get some lunch. His mom told him, you need to be eating lunch at 12. It's 1:55. I said, what time are you going to go eat lunch? He said, oh, probably about 1 o'clock. He didn't even know what time it was because he's stuck playing 2K or whatever, you know? This is summertime, whatever, you know, have fun, you know, as a kid, as a child. But, you know, there's so many distractions. And nobody is really focusing on the real issues that are plaguing, you know, Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, our progression, our plight. Who is focused on that outside of the priests and prophets in the Isupk? No one. Commander General YAHANNA is. I mean, the soldiers in here, we wore the hell out. We're the only ones that's doing the legwork. Everybody else, you're reactionary. You get pissed off when you see something happen instead of being pissed off before it happens. You know, we're pissed off all the goddamn time. Not just when George Floyd gets, you know, Derek Chauvin's knee on his neck and dies. We were pissed off before that. We were warning you about the police before that. We were warning you about race relations far before that. Anyhow, that brother that got attacked by that canine, you know, I pray the Lord is with him. You know, he just walked into a payday, I'm sure. But we're talking about DeSantis and the lie that he's pushing in the earth that, you know, Black folks benefited from slavery and they picked up different skill sets like becoming blacksmiths, you know, and field hands. And we are so much more than that. If you believe that as a Black, Hispanic, or Native Indian, man, that your true history begins with you being enslaved, you a goddamn fool. All right?
And Salaki, just to throw it on there, if you're going to tell me that's what we picked up during slavery, what did they pick up?
All the way to the end of 90.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. And Buck, y'all, if they tell us the thing that we picked up during slavery and we benefited from it, then what did they pick up from it? Since they was in charge.
Right.
You understand? And we benefited from it according to their narrative, then what did they benefit from?
Man, I'm just disgusted at the so-called oppressor. And you would think society, you know, technology would be far more advanced than where it is. But because, you know, our oppressor is an idiot, he is an absolute imbecile. Right. He can stake claim to being first on the moon. We're the reason why Black women did that. We're the reason why traffic flows, you know, in a consistent pattern all throughout America. A Black man did that, created the traffic light. Well, it's just countless, you know, inventions, you know, that we're responsible for that have improved the quality of life on the planet, not just in America, but globally. You know, Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians have contributed, you know, everything beneficial about living on Earth. You think about luxury, you think about the things that make life better. A Black, Hispanic, or Native Indian had their hand in it, had their hand in creating it or making it better, okay? You're talking about product development. We make everything better. The Bible says that we're the salt of the earth. Right. You know, we are the flavoring to this human experience. We're the seasoning. We're that adobo sazon. You know what I'm saying? That's what we are to life, to humanity. Anyhow, if you can, Quadam, to hell with whatever DeSantis is talking about. We actually have done the research in this school. We've done the legwork so you don't have to, all right? We have a book called From Babylon to Timbuktu by an author named Rudolph Windsor. He studied at Temple University, man. He was very, very brilliant mind. And he was enthralled with wanting to know more about the Israelites, the biblical Hebrew Israelites, and who they were and their accomplishments, you know, and who they are today. In this book, he talks about the history of the Hebrew Israelites. The 70 AD when Jerusalem fell. It talks about how we ended up in Africa and throughout the African diaspora. That's all the 40-something odd countries in Africa. Our people were scattered throughout the dark continent. And where we went, we took our skill sets. We took our quality of living. And we tried to maintain ourselves there while we're seeking asylum in these foreign lands as strangers, as refugees, all right? We knew who we were even then, all right? If you can, brother, tell them where you are in that book.
Check. This is the From Babylon to Timbuktu, page 89. It says the Arabs, Moors, and the Sudanic writers attribute to the ancient Black African Hebrews the establishment of the first empires.
When we say African Hebrews, he's talking about the ones that came out of Jerusalem and inhabit. The reason why they call you an American, even though your people aren't from here. They say you're an African American. They named you after two continents, which makes no sense. Two oppressors, Amerigo Vespucci and Leo Scipio Africanus. Right. That's what you named after, black man. The so-called Puerto Rican, they named you after the richness of your land, the resources of your land. A rich port, that's what you are in the sight of the oppressor. You know, we're absolute commodities, and our lives have no value unless we can make the oppressor a dollar. All right. Keep reading. Salakia.
Khan. The erection of the first public buildings in the country, the construction of the first canals,
the first public buildings, the first canals,
and irrigation systems.
And irrigation systems. So we pioneered engineering. Right. That's what the Israelites of old. We talk about remembering the days of old and considering, you know, those generations. That's what our people did. That's what we were responsible for on a mass scale, on a grand scale. Keep reading.
Khan. And the institution of a social economic regimen.
A social economic regimen.
Khan. Which still survives in all Saharan communities.
Right. Keep reading.
By what factors can we explain the emergence of Black Hebrew hegemony and leadership over the indigenous tribes?
The hegemony.
Khan. The answer is simple.
Over the who tribes?
Over the indigenous tribes.
Right. Keep reading.
Khan. The answer is simple. The Jews came into the Western Sudan from northern and eastern Africa as a result of a chain of commercial and persecutory migration.
So when we think about hegemony, it just means leadership or dominance, okay? And when we came out of Jerusalem, we were fleeing persecution. We were fleeing religious persecution. We were fleeing a foreign dictatorship coming into our land, okay? And what we wanted to do was to maintain our heritage. We wanted to maintain who we are as a nation, okay? Even though the land had fallen to these heathens under Titus and Vespasian, if I'm not mistaken. Anyhow, we talk about leadership or dominance over those heathens. When we went into their land, we established all those things. So we were superior. when we went into someone else's provinces, when we went into someone else's regions. Okay? Don't believe the lie of them of white supremacy. You know, they call us minorities. They're very, very dismissive of our inherent superiority. They're very dismissive of it, and they are intensely condescending whenever they speak about anything Black, Hispanic, or Native Indian, and that's by design. You know, that's the psychological warfare that the oppressor, you know, in his subtle ways has perfected over the course of time, over the course of history. All right, keep reading that verse,
No.
that passage, Salakia.
Kawakah. The Jews had settled among the most civilized people throughout the ages.
Right,
They adopted new methods from other people
right.
and left their material, educational, and moral imprint among the people with whom they resided.
So wherever we went, we left our influence on the people, the same way the so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians do to this very day. How we influence just social movement with respect to pop culture. You know, we influence music. You think about fashion. You think about entertainment. You think about food. Where will we be without Black, Hispanic, or Native Indian influence? Where will we be? Keep reading.
Kawakah. For many centuries, the Hebrews had to employ great physical and psychological initiative.
So we had to do what?
For many centuries, the Hebrews had to employ great physical and psychological initiative.
So that whole proverb about Negroes and Mexicans being lazy is a lie. Because taking initiative, you can't be lazy when you take initiative. Right. You can't be. It just doesn't, it's a misnomer. It doesn't work that way. To take initiative, I mean, come on, man. That's what we're doing in the ISUPK. We're taking initiative to lead. Right. We're taking the initiative to be obedient, to get back to our traditions, more so than what the Christian church has done. And how long have we had Christianity? Ever since we've been in America, for centuries. Keep reading.
Sir. They could not afford to be complacent or apathetic.
We could not afford to be complacent, man. We couldn't have a I don't care attitude, you know, because of who we are, who we were. We are the representation of the most high power on this earth. That's who Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians are. We represent the culture of God. When we're keeping the law, statutes, commandments, that's right. When we're keeping these feast days, these high holy days, we're keeping the Sabbath. Remember to keep the Sabbath holy. Right. We're showing men that you can have more than one wife and it be lawful in the sight of God if you do it righteously. Right. And we're being separate. We're not mingling ourselves with heathens. We recognize the value in being royalty. So we marry other royalty, and we don't demean ourselves or pollute ourselves with the ideals, or let alone just marrying the other nations. It's a very low-class thing. Salakia, go ahead, Adawan.
Hey, Salakia, I was just checking. When we look at 45, Orange Hair 45, Agent Orange, you know, he was a test study, man, I must say. He was a test study to say all the things a normal politician could not say. Now, he said it. Now, what has happened is, I'm looking at all the politicians, they're all copying his rhetoric, man.
Right.
They're all saying outlandish things that they think appeal to white America, if I may.
The conservatives especially,
Yeah.
right. Right.
So, like, that's
a very valid, heavy point. Because he opened up the floodgates for the resentment or that sentiment, that racist sentiment, you know, that the right has always stood for. You know, for the grand old party, the conservatives, they always stand for that. And it's to hate you, Black man, Hispanic man, Native Indian man, woman, and child. But what's more dubious is the fact that the left absolutely hates you too. You don't believe that Joe Biden hates so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians until you dig into his history and you see that he authored the 94 crime bill. You don't believe that Kamala Devi Harris, she went down to Florida and spoke out against what DeSantis was saying because people were pissed off. But that's just smoke and mirrors, because she made her bones locking up black and brown in the state of California. Okay? So I don't believe the hype. I know who you are based off of what you do. I could give a damn about what you say. All right? In this school, we've learned to recognize smooth words, and we acknowledge people for their works. All right? This is the reason why we call the so-called white man the devil that the Bible speaks of. It's not because he's red. It's not because he has horns. It's not because he has a trident. It's because of his lies. He speaks with a forked tongue. It's because of all of his crimes against humanity, specifically our people. That's what we're concerned with, all right? Keep reading that.
They were hated, so apathy could mean cultural stagnation or death.
Right.
The Jews imported into the western part of Africa.
That is a very heavy line. It said that they were hated. Why were they hated? Why were the Jews of old hated? The same reasons why they're hated today. You're great and you don't even know that you're great. You don't even recognize your greatness or the impression that you have on society at our lowest, in the ghettos, in the barrios, in the favelas, on the reservation. We're great. We're royalty, man. You should not be ashamed if you Black, Hispanic, or Native Indian at all. Where we live right now, these are just temporary conditions. These substandard conditions, we got to get back to keeping God's law, statutes, commandments. That is what's going to be our saving grace. The second you stop eating that pork, shrimp, crab, and lobster, the second your blood pressure is going to drop. You know, it's not going to be as high as it used to be. You know, you're going to regain your strength. You don't have to worry about getting your leg cut off or your foot cut off like Big Mama, you know, from Soul Food with a jiggly saw. Have you ever seen that? Google that. Google a jiggly saw and see how they remove, you know, your distal extremities because you want to engorge yourself on what the so-called oppressor calls a delicacy. But the Most High says it's an abomination. Who do you trust? You believe with the so-called white man, he's selling you endless shrimp scampi and lobster tails at Red Lobster? Or the Most High who says you're not supposed to touch these things. It's unclean to you. You know, I believe that every man is a liar with respect to what the Most High says. That's right. Keep reading that verse.
The Jews imported into the west, it's like the western part of Africa, a superior material, educational, and moral culture soon after 300 AD.
See, this is the beautiful thing about these laws, statutes, and commandments, because they set a moral standard in the earth. You just imagine if you kept God's laws, statutes, and commandments, everything would be in its proper order. You wouldn't have to worry about somebody sleeping with your wife. You wouldn't have to worry about somebody breaking into your house or your car. You wouldn't have to worry about being cheated when you go to the market to sell or buy your goods. You wouldn't have to worry about those things because we have laws from God that would govern us, okay? And these laws are perfect. They're devoid of flaws, okay? Unlike the so-called laws of America that are full of holes, full of loopholes. And the oppressor who wrote the laws knows what the loopholes are, so he'll never be held accountable for the laws that he sets that he does not keep. All right? Keep reading.
And this cultural advancement was not duplicated or exceeded until the ascendancy of the Mohammedan leader Mansa Cancun Musa.
Mansa Musa. When you think about Mansa Musa and they talk about his greatness, he was a Hamite. He was a filthy Hamite. But they say that the things that we, you know, accomplished could not be duplicated. Is that what it said?
And this cultural advancement was not duplicated or exceeded.
It wasn't duplicated or exceeded. We set the goddamn standard way back when. All right? And we can set the same standard today as blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians as God's chosen. All right? Keep reading.
Khan. Mansa Musa of Mali in 1312 AD.
Right.
In the third century, in the third or fourth centuries AD, the Africans on the West Coast did not possess the cultural superiority of the Africans on the North and East Coast.
And why is that? Because that's where we were when we came out of Jerusalem. We came into the northeastern side of Africa. You think about those countries, Ethiopia, the Sudan, and Libya, and all those countries, Morocco, that's where we were. And we left our imprint on those spaces and the people that inhabited those geographical locations. Keep reading.
Khan. The black Jews had an advantage over the African tribe.
They had what?
Had an advantage over the African tribe.
I wonder what that advantage was. I wonder what it was. It had to be that we had the most high power. Even when we were exiled from Jerusalem, even when we were seeking asylum as refugees in the dark continent of Africa, what did it say?
The black Jews had an advantage over the African tribe.
The Jews are black, if you didn't know, blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. And when we was in Africa, we had an advantage over you filthy Hamites. We had an advantage over you. Salaki. I can't stand up with a passing. Because they look at you and they're disgusted at you. Go ahead, Officer Quidam. Salaki.
Salaki, so that's heavy too when you think about it, because even this brother, you understand, which is Rudolph Wessel, right?
Right.
He understood and knew that there's a difference. Howbeit the Most High has placed a difference between the Egyptians and the Israelites.
That's right.
So that means that we are not no damn Africans, man.
Man.
You understand? So Salaki.
No, you're absolutely right. I remember when I was living in D.C., really Laurel, and I would go to D.C. with my cousin Ramondo. Shout out to Ramondo. He showed me around, as I was learning my way around D.C. and the DMV area. We would go to the spot called the Zanzibar, and that's where all the Ethiopians hung out. And when I tell you they were smug and very condescending with the way they talked to you, with the way they looked at you, and I'm thinking like, damn, I'm you. I'm an African American. Right. They know exactly who we are, man. That's right. And they look at you in disgust because you don't know who you are. You don't know your contributions to society as a whole. And it spans North America and the things that we've done here. This brother is reading out of From Babylon to Timbuktu, man. Right. You should familiarize yourself with page 89, page 90. And it talks about everything that, you about to run it down. Keep reading. Salaki.
Khan. They carried their culture, history, laws, and written records.
That's right. We have to hold true to the things that the Lord gave us, man. We cannot just devalue that. We can't just throw that away. This is the reason why we were great. It's because we had the Lord on our side, man. We were obedient, all right? Even when we were cast out of the promised land, the Lord was still with us. He never forsake us, man. Right. We have to get back to that. Keep reading.
With them, this assured them a constant precedent for the development of a higher social organization.
Right. Keep reading.
Because of the stability of the black Jewish culture, the Jews were not absorbed into the
our culture.
Autochthonous.
Spell it.
AUTOCHTHONOUS.
Autochthonous.
That's what I thought.
Let's you already know what we need to do.
Autochthonous.
That's a rough word. Salakia. AUTOCH. Autochthonous. And it means indigenous or of an inhabitant of a place, indigenous rather than descended from migrants or colonists. Okay, so these are the people that lived there in that space and they did not migrate into that space, unlike the people that inhabit Jerusalem today, unlike the people that inhabit the West Bank today, unlike the people that live in Egypt to this day. You talk about great migrations of people, the people that, even the people that are here in North America, they came from somewhere else. Okay. All right, keep reading.
In fact, the Jews absorbed some of the native tribes.
We did what?
In fact, the Jews absorbed some of the native tribes.
We absorbed some of the native tribes, the people that were indigenous to those places. They forgot about their culture. They forgot about their customs. They forgot about their heritage or their history. And they preferred what the hell we had going on. They wanted to get with the golds. They wanted to get with the braids. They want to get with the fringes. They want to get with the, we don't eat monkey meat. That's what they want to get with. They want to get with keeping the Sabbath. They want to get with bathing regularly, routinely. They wanted to do away with scarification and the mutilization of genitalia. They wanted to do away with that so your woman can have a goddamn orgasm. I would prefer that over them not. They got tired of sticking their heads up the behind of a bovine animal just so they could have orange hair. They stopped dreading their hair. You've seen them Africans, they put that mud in their hair. They said, no. These people over here, the flies are not attracted to them. It's the flies. I don't want the flies no more. So I'm going to do what they're doing. What are they doing? They're washing their hair. What are they doing? Adorning their beards with oil. You know, it's like, why wouldn't you want to be a Judite? I see so-called oppressors trying to emulate us. And it's so funny to me, but I can't hate them. I cannot hate them because if I was white, I'd do the same goddamn thing. I would want to be just like you. I would want to be like the Hispanic or the Native Indian. I would be done with my culture. To hell with a white culture in America. Ain't nobody listening to no damn Jason Aldean. Turn up that damn Biggie Smalls. No, turn up that Captain Akkad. Turn up that Zion Yahala, man. Turn up that Sharp on YAHANNA, man. Good night. Keep reading that verse. Salakia.
The Jews made use of every opportunity. They were
to absorb the other tribes. Always been compassionate. Always been accepting of the other nations, man. This is how I know that when we are in rulership, when we are in leadership, you know, the earth will be set in its proper place. There will not be the conflicts that we have globally. There's civil unrest on every major continent, man. The people just cannot seem to get along. And that's because God's chosen don't know who they are. All right, keep reading.
They were an industrious and skillful people.
They said they were what? DeSantis, you bastard. He said that we were what?
Industrious and skillful people.
What does it mean to be industrious? I knew the root word is industry, right? So we knew what to do when it came down to, creating products and services and literally getting it out of the mud. That's what we do. That's what our people were known for back then, even today. Keep reading, Salakia.
Sir. In the Jewish Ghanaian states were found kings.
The Jewish Ghanaian states. So you think about our the correlation between us and Ghana. You know, we inhabited just about all those spaces in Africa. You know, the so-called Black Jew, the so-called Black Hebrew Israelite had some sort of influence on the different tribes, the African diaspora, okay? And in Ghana, we left our mark there. Keep reading.
And the Jewish Ghanaian states were found kings, princes.
Found kings over these indigenous that were swallowed up because they loved our culture more so than the culture of their great grandfathers. They said, these people, they know what time it is. These people have a God that loves them and looks out for them. And the way of life that they have, I prefer that over the way of life that we've lived for millennia. Keep reading. Princes, okay. Kings, princes, keep reading.
Governors.
Generals. You can't have that without order. You can't have that without definitive structure. We only had those things because we paid attention to laws, statutes, and commandments, all right? If you have a problem with saying Khan out of one Khan, you're out of order. You deserve America. You deserve what happens with America, okay? In here, we follow orders. We learn to follow orders. We learn obedience. You get obedience training 101 in the ISUPK. We teach ADLs, daily life living skills. We teach you how to live not just with other people, but with yourself, how to conduct yourself. We teach social etiquette, okay? Keep reading, Salakia.
Come. Secretaries, treasurers, revenue agents, judges, architects, engineers, doctors, historians, language interpreters, mathematicians, jewelers, sculptors, masons, carpenters, painters of art, goldsmiths, leather workers, potters, armorers, saddlers, blacksmiths, agriculturists, etc.
Etc., meaning that the list could go on and on and on. He should have said ellipses after that. That's 3 dots. It's a continuation, right? DeSantis, you are spreading fake news, all right? You're teaching lies to the people, to the American people, to the world. You're lying to so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. You got it, Officer Kowal?
That's insane. The more I think about that, it just really pisses me off. What if it was, the headline read, the Holocaust was good for the fake Jew? What about that?
You said what now?
Well, they would never say that the Holocaust was good for the fake Jew.
Because he get canceled.
He would be canceled quick.
But he knows he will be canceled.
Yeah, like we have no respect here as blacks, Latinos, Native American Indians. Like you can just say whatever the hell you want to us. And it's crazy. Everybody's in an uproar about just hilarious and transgender and cisgender. Everybody's talking about what else is the little Negro running across the border. No one's mentioning how detrimental and disrespectful this is. None of our top leader, quote unquote leaders that the Black America loves to look up to. They don't have an issue with this. Nobody has an issue with what's being said. Like it's just a point where you can just do whatever the hell you want to us. You know, it's ridiculous, man.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. You know, there's so many distractions. Yeah. You know, we talk about bread and circuses, you know, from the elite, from those that are in power and authority, right? And it's to keep you from focusing on the real issues. Shout out to LJ, man. I love it. That brother is doing his thing. Anyhow, DeSantis, you're a liar, and the Lord is going to, you know, have his way with you for the lies that you're spreading about his people. All right. And if you Black, Hispanic, or Native Indian, don't get discouraged when you hear all these lies that they want to teach in the school curriculum in Florida. It's not just going to be in Florida. It's going to spread all throughout the Bible Belt, all throughout the South. If they teaching it in Florida, they're going to be teaching it in Texas, in Louisiana, and Mississippi, and Alabama, and South Carolina. Salakia. Go ahead, brother.
Salakia, sir. And that's so heavy you think about, too, you know, like the scripture says in Deuteronomy 7:6, that we are greater than all people on the face of the earth.
Right.
You understand? And DeSantis is a damn devil the Bible speaks of, one.
That's right.
But two, you understand, you think about it, when we went to that slave plantation, man, you understand?
Stagville. Shout out to Stagville, right?
Plantation. And we seen how, you understand, our forefathers built that barn and they didn't even have no mortar,
No nails.
no nails.
They used
But
no
then
nails.
he said that we learned something from that, but we already knew this before then.
Right.
It's showing you here in Babylon and Timbuktu.
Mhm.
We was actually engineers and carpenters and these things like that. But this dumb behind devil, he needs all these things to build a building.
Right.
And he still can't do it because he got to get who? Our Isupk brothers and sisters. They talk all that talk, but they know who the real people of the Most High is.
they
man.
damn sure
That's
do
why
know.
they use it so much. Salaki.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right, Officer Quadon. They didn't have an engineering genius like Zion Yahala. You know, who whatever I see this brother put his hands to, he excels at it. He's great at it. You know what I'm saying? That's how I know the Lord is with him. Unlike a DeSantis who has to make up lies and teach false narratives. Go ahead, Ottawa. Salakia.
Full of scripture about Zechariah 11:5.
Most High in Christ.
I'm letting Lord willing you get back to it. I just want to throw it out there. The book of Zechariah 11:5. Because it's just what you're doing is hammering home a point, man. Kawal dropped it heavy, man.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody would ever say that about the so-called Jewish man.
Right.
You would never say that, the concentration camps that they supposedly went in, quote unquote, was good for them. It allowed them to, create Hollywood and the music industry. You would never say anything like that.
Right.
But against the children of Israel, you just have a free tongue. You understand? And it's almost like it's escapism, if I may.
Right.
It's escapism. It's almost like it's damn on the lines of saying the girl who wears the short skirt deserves whatever happened to her, if I may.
Yikes.
Is that line? But you can openly say that. But you can openly say. But I blame the Christian church for that. You understand? Right. Because those are the ones who taught Kanye West, who said slavery was a choice. See, they've been conditioning us over the past few years to really just accept our condition here on the earth as it being your fault. It's like it's your fault. So that way, when it comes to anything that you can get, you don't want it.
Right.
That's why Commander Junior Holmes bring out like welfare and the EBT card and things like that. No, I don't need any subsidies or subsidized help. But when they take it away, then we're gonna be like, oh, what happened?
Right.
When I was growing up, I remember the summer school programs that we had. We used to drive around and pass out sandwiches and you know what I'm saying, for lunch in the community, man. But somebody said we don't need that. We'll let the church take care of it, and the church never did. Let me get the book of Zechariah, Papa Shaw.
Khan is the book of Zechariah, chapter 11, verse 5. Whose possessors slay them.
Whose what?
Possessors slay them.
The one thing that we have to remember in this empire, even though they passed different administrative laws and different amendments to their constitution to say that Black, Hispanics, Native Indian are a part of America, we've never been released as captives in this empire, man.
Right.
We've stayed here. We've stayed here and we've been taught that, guess what? You can still be successful even with the people that brought you here to be in chains are still over you. You understand?
Right.
That'll never happen. But whose possessor what?
Whose possessors slay them.
The things that they do harm us, it destroys our minds, and therefore we go out and unalive each other like it doesn't mean anything. We go to the abortion clinics like it doesn't mean anything. We sell each other drugs and things like that in our communities like it don't mean anything. But it's not our fault. It's the ones that had us in captivity who never understood our value and said, we're not going to reestablish your value. You understand?
Right.
In any line of war, you go to war today, you are responsible for reestablishing those people, man, the things that you took from those people in war today. So how do you say you're what? We still in your possession. And because we're in your possession, they what?
Whose possessors slay them.
Come on.
And hold themselves not guilty.
That's what this is all about.
Right.
That's what him saying, slavery did you guys some good. It's his way of saying, I'm not guilty of anything. If anything I did was, I only really helped you to evolve from where you were in your lower state. That's the mindset of these bastards here in this empire, man. It's a daggone shame. Them saying that is their way of saying, we helped you evolve from your primitive state.
Right.
But it's also not acknowledging us as to who we were before we ran into the oppressor.
Right.
You understand?
That's right.
It completely rendered him non-responsible for what happened to the Native Indians. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
To the people who was here first. It rendered him like I didn't do anything in Mexico. I didn't have anything to do with that. If anything, I helped you guys out. Now, how are you supposed to survive in this empire when you go to work with devils who think like that?
Right. Right.
You should be lucky you have a job.
Good night.
You should be lucky you can even read English.
Right. Right.
Huh? You should be lucky you have a license to drive your car.
Right.
You should be lucky we have schools that your kids can go to and learn. The truth is we had all of that before we ran into the oppressor, man.
That's a fact.
But that's his way of saying he's what? Not guilty.
Right. Right.
That's it on that, Cordon?
La'ah, sir.
Please, come on.
Whose possessors slay them and hold themselves not guilty. And they that sell them say, blessed be the Lord.
They say what?
Blessed be the Lord.
They say what?
Blessed be the Lord.
That's what this is. That's what this is. They saying, yes, praise God, you Negroes went in chains.
Right.
Read on.
For I am rich.
For what?
For I am rich.
So we make these bastards rich.
Right.
Because of the what? The so-called skills and slavery that they gave us. So with that mindset, they'll never hold themselves guilty. They'll never think that they're responsible for anything. And it's because of their pride, man.
Right.
And the God that they believe in is not the same God that we believe in. Christianity has destroyed the mindset of Black, Hispanics, Native Indians.
That's right.
Christianity is another form of white supremacy. You will only hear this in the Isupk under Commanding General YAHANNA. You understand?
That's right.
Get in class.
Damn right. You're absolutely right. This is an exclusive. You know what I'm saying? You're not getting these facts nowhere else on the earth. It's not being taught. You can't pay for this. You got to come in here and put in some sweat equity, you know? Anyhow, I wanted to get into something that I found very interesting. And it was intriguing because we're talking about considering the days of old. All right. On one of those tabs, I have who's your dad? Who's his father? He's a black albino, but I know an albino. His daddy is a Negro. Who was his father? Who was his father's father? But beyond that, there's another tab up here. Vlad the Kebabber. Good night. Yikes. like Vlad the Impaler, but Vlad the Kebabber. Oh man. Get this troll out of here, man. Go ahead and let's get back to the topic, man. Oh my goodness. Yeah, click that. All right. Yeah, share that with the people. If you hadn't checked out the class from last Saturday night, check it out because Commander General YAHANNA was on the radio show, and they were talking about Jason Aldean's song that is #1 in America right now. Try that in a small town. All right. Really interesting. Really, 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 really interesting.
Hold on, Salak. You said it's #1 in America right now?
#1.
How?
Because that is America.
Thank you.
That's America.
That's the whole point.
Mm-hmm.
The water bunk here.
No, the water to you, Ottawa. The water to you. You know, because that is what America is about. That's what it's always been about. All right. It's always been about hating you. If you are so-called Black, Hispanic, or Native Indian, all right? The oppressor, the so-called white man, all right, hates you, hates your guts, hate everything that you represent, everything that you stand for, because they know exactly who we are and they know who chose us, all right? So your beef is not with him. His beef is with the Most High. It's not with you, all right? Let's read this article real quick, Baba Kusha.
Khan. Jason Aldean stands by controversial song during Ohio tour stop. What am I is a proud American.
He said, I'm a what?
What am I is a proud American.
Good night. He's a proud American. The things that I know about what this Bible says about pride, it's not good, man. It's not good for you to be prideful at all. The Bible said pride goeth before what? Destruction. You know, we can go in Ecclesiasticus and talk about pride. Right. In the book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 27, verse 15, it says, the strife of the proud is bloodshedding, and their revelings are grievous to the ear. When we think about the revelings of Jason Aldean's song, I can't help but to hearken upon, my ancestors and what they had to endure living here in America. Even just traveling in small towns. This is the reason why there was mass migrations to large cities in the urban areas. There's strength in numbers. You think about the ending of slavery prior to the Reconstruction period, and where blacks that opted out from sharecropping and decided to move to where there were opportunities, and they moved to the urban areas. They moved to Detroit. They moved to Chicago. They moved to Harlem. They moved to these northern cities to establish themselves, and they found safety or solace in numbers. Right. So we moved to the north side of Tulsa. You think about where we were in Durham, in Hayti. You think about Parish Street. You think about in Richmond where our people lived, okay? But then there were other places. We called them sundown towns. I'm jumping all over the place right now because I'm so excited about this thing, but Jason Aldean is a bastard, all right? He is a devil, and he hates so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. And he's proving his hatred through his art, all right? This is how he gets paid. He's going on tour, and he's promoting his pride for believing in the ideals, the early ideals of America. Now you just go to right there.
Khan. It says the country singer has been accused of promoting gun violence and racism in his new single and music video. Mm-hmm. Jason Aldean is standing by his own controversial song after being accused of promoting gun violence and racism in its lyrics and music video. The country singer 46 reiterated his defense of the video and lyrics for his song Try That in a Small Town during a Friday night gig at Cincinnati's Riverbend Music Center.
So to make a long story short, his video was in front of this courthouse where they were known for lynching, blacks, Hispanics, Native Indians, I'm sure. And then in the video, throughout the video, they had a lot of snippets of riots and just different criminal activity that is synonymous with blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians being under the oppressor of the so-called white man. The reason why we commit these crimes is because you got your goddamn boot, on the back of our necks, and you withhold resources, valuable, invaluable resources for us, so that we can sustain ourselves in this empire. We always the last hire and the first fire. That's right. They did away with affirmative action, so you won't let us go to school to get an education. All right. And even once we get that education, we have to work twice as hard as our white constituents in order for us to even get a job, or in order for us to even be accepted into your society. We have to curb our ways for the sake of your love. You got to be bald headed with you got to shave your beard. You can't have no braids. You better not walk up in there with no gold teeth. You got to show teeth and buck and jive in order for you to actually be accepted. You can't be a strong black man. You have to be a very compassionate, empathetic, docile, approachable, weak, effeminate black man in order for you to make it in this empire. And all those things go against, the spirit of who you are naturally. They go against the spirit of who God created you to be and what you're supposed to represent in the sight of all the nations. You're supposed to represent strength. You're supposed to have that toxic masculinity that the world calls it. You're supposed to be that black man, Hispanic man, Native Indian man. Instead of you putting on a goddamn dress for the sake of a bag like Tyler Perry, Eddie Murphy, Martin Lawrence, Jamie Foxx, Wesley Snipes. I seen that's what is it? The AI of LeBron James, that picture of him in the pink dress. That's what the artificial intelligence, you know what I'm saying? But I don't see him really speaking out against it. I would sue whoever the hell created that photo. They're using my likeness, and it's misleading. I have the power of influence. I don't want little black boys to see that and think that I sold out. I don't want little black girls to see that and be like, damn, what happened to all of our strong black men? You know what I mean? Anyhow, keep reading that article. Let's get through this.
During the show, he pointed to cancel culture, and he said he wanted the U.S. to be restored to what it once was before all this bull crap started happening to us.
And what do you think happened to them? Martin Luther the King, the Greensboro Four.
So that sound like you with Trump when he said "Make America Great Again."
Yeah, he definitely is speaking. He's speaking that language. Those dog whistle phrases. Stand back and stand by. You know what I mean? It's like they have their own separate, just the same way we do, the same way that we speak in code. You know what I'm saying? They don't understand us. They call our language Ebonics whenever we speak to each other. They don't understand the way that we communicate. But when they communicate, it's obvious. Back to when America was what? Before what happened to them? What changed the way that they lived in these small towns? Was it affirmative action? Was it the civil rights movement? Was it integration? Those are the things that changed. Because America was founded upon the ideal of a, what do you want to call this place? Oh man, a haven, for white society solely. They saw the Native Indians and they said, no, we're going to build fences. We want them out. And they kept pushing them further and further and further and further out until they ended up on a reservation where there were no resources, where they don't have access to clean running water. And then they use their laws to justify their crimes, to justify their sins they committed against God's chosen. This is the reality of being Black, Hispanic, or Native Indian in America. All right, keep reading that script, that article.
I gotta tell you guys, man, it's been a long week. It's been a long week.
Well, you're a prophet. You're a priest, man. You are definitely respectable. Go ahead, brother. Go ahead. Get down.
Oh God! And I've seen a lot of stuff.
Right.
I've seen a lot of stuff suggesting I'm this, suggesting I'm that. Here's the thing. Here's one thing I feel. I feel like everybody's entitled to their opinion. He said, you can think something all you want to, doesn't mean it's true, right?
Keep reading.
What am I? It's like what I am is a proud American.
He is a proud American. If you Black, Hispanic, or Native Indian, consider the generations of old and what America has done to your ancestors. consider that relationship that your people have had with the American people since its inception. Black man, where were you in 1776 when they formed the Declaration of Independence, when they signed it? Where were you? Where were you, Hispanic man? Where were you, Native Indian? This bastard is proud of that history. He's proud of his heritage. He's proud of what's transpired over the course of history. And he should be. He should absolutely be proud of what he's done and what his forefathers have done. Because he's a devil. And this is his empire. Keep reading.
I'm proud to be from here, Aldine said. So I continued. I love our country.
He loves who?
Our country.
He stole this country from who?
The Native Indians.
The Native Indians. That's a thief, boy. I ain't never heard of thief. You're going to claim something that belongs to somebody else as your own. You are a goddamn thief. Right. Keep reading.
I want to see it restored to what it once was before all the bull crap.
He's trying to restore what?
Slavery.
He want to get back to slavery, right? He want to get back to, when the Klan was a dominant force in this land. I got pictures. We can pull up pictures of the Klan rallies. It was ridiculous. It was very popular to be a Klansman in America at one point in time in American history. Keep reading.
So like if I may real quick, slavery gonna be restored, all right, when they're in chains and shackles. Yeah, it's gonna be restored, all right.
But you know the thing about that, and I know we say a lot of things for shock value when it comes down to slavery and their bondage, but we're not going to be doing what they did to us in slavery. You know what I'm saying? We're not going to be creeping in the quarters to sleep with their wives. We're righteous. We're just. Our laws forbid against those types of behaviors, those types of actions. This will be a righteous bondage that you endure, and it'll be completely justified based off of your crimes, based off of your sins against God's chosen. That's your judgment. Keep reading.
I love our country. I love my family, and I would do anything to protect that. I tell you that right now.
Yeah, he's a sissy. Look at him. He's a punk. He's an absolute punk. He can't defend anything. You can get a trooper that has not graduated Hebrew Academy and make quick work of him.
Right.
That's another. We don't advocate for violence, all right? We're not advocating for violence when we say that. It just is what it is. He's just a punk with a microphone. All right, keep reading.
After several USA chants began from audience members.
USA, USA, USA. They are on board with the vitriolic hatred that he is spewing through the art that he's creating to get America back to what it was before all the BS happened to them. Okay, keep reading.
Come. Aldine mentioned cancel culture.
We are cancel culture. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, we are cancel culture because we are the culture. We set the trends. We set the tone for what will be in society. All right? It's just the way it is. It's the way it's always been, and it's the way it's going to be in the future. In the kingdom, you ain't gonna be no pork, shrimp, crab, or lobster. It won't be. It just won't be. You're not gonna be able to celebrate your birthday, Mother's Day, Father's Day. You won't be able to believe in a tooth fairy. There will be no mention of Santa Claus. There will be no trick-or-treating. Celebrating New Year's is out. It's off the goddamn table. We're canceling that culture right now in the Isupk under Commander General YAHANNA. It would behoove you to get in class to learn what the future will be like. All right? Keep reading.
And it defined it as people trying to make sure that they cancel you, that they can cancel you, which means try to ruin your life.
Trying to ruin your what?
Ruin your life.
The Emancipation Proclamation ruined the life of those Southern landowners that owned all them slaves on those plantations when cotton was once king. Those are some of the poorest places in America today because of their dependence upon slavery, the institution of slavery. All right? Our suffering is predicated upon them being fruitful. It shouldn't be that way. You know, why should we have to suffer in order for someone else to be able to thrive and survive and to live gloriously, okay? That's not the way it's supposed to be, man. If you Black, Hispanic, or Native Indian, understand this. You are God's chosen. You are the only royalty that's ever graced planet Earth, point blank, period. We got to stop playing second fiddle to bastards like Jason Aldean and his belief in American idealism, okay? Which is white supremacy. That's all it is. Keep reading.
Which means try to ruin your life, ruin everything if they don't like what you say.
Right. Ruin what? Keep reading.
One thing I saw this week was a bunch of country music fans that could see through a lot of the bullcrap, he added.
All right. Drop that. Let's go to, what's that? No. Oh, I got some heavy for y'all tonight. Keep reading. I mean, yeah, keep going. Next tab. Next tab. Yeah. I want to look at these lyrics real quick. All right. Run through these lyrics. We can give a quick breakdown of these lyrics. And then I want to talk about these small towns or these sundown towns. And I've done some research. I know at one point in time I brought out a Red Record, which is a database of lynchings, not just in North Carolina specifically, okay, by some graduate student. He identified where people were lynched in North Carolina, but as far as America is concerned, recognizing each spot where a so-called Black, Hispanic, or Native Indian lost their life to the noose or lost their life to gang violence at the hand of oppressors, at the hand of white mobs, okay? It's called the Red Record. You can Google it. I found another database that has outlined sundown towns, not just in North Carolina, but all across the 50 states of this perfect union, okay? Keep reading. Let's get these lyrics down real quick.
Convocan says, try that in a small town.
Right.
It says, sucker punch somebody on the sucker punch somebody on the sidewalk.
Right.
Carjack an old lady at the red light. Pull a gun on the owner of a liquor store. You think it's cool? Well, act the fool if you like.
Commander General YAHANNA so eloquently broke this down, and he recognized these lyrics as being crimes that are commonly acted out by so-called Blacks and Hispanics. Why do you think we rob liquor stores? It ain't like they're giving us jobs. If anything, they're keeping you from being employed, from being gainfully employed. Okay? Just based off of the oppression, them wanting to deny you access to education so that you can get a job, right? Carjack an old lady. They're talking about the Kia boys. When I was coming up, it was New Jersey Drive. I didn't want to go to New Jersey because I thought I was gonna get carjacked on the strength of that movie. All right. Pull a gun on the owner of a liquor store. Who robs liquor stores outside of Negroes? That's what we do. But that's only because of the oppression of the so-called white man. Okay. Keep reading.
Cuss out a cop. Spit in his face.
Now, why wouldn't we be able to cuss out a police officer? Why wouldn't we pay his salary? He works for us. You're talking about spitting in his face. Now, we don't advocate that. You know, I've seen more so-called white or just oppressors do way worse with the police. They take the ticket, rip it up, and litter and throw it on the street, throw it in the cop's face. That's more so what they do, all right? Because we know what happens when you violate. We're too afraid to do anything when we get pulled over by the police. And then those of us that react out of fear will draw down on the police officer. A random traffic stop could be our last moments. Philando Castile. Keep reading.
Khan. Stomp on the flag and light it up. Yeah, you think you're tough. Well, try that in a small town.
We got to get a flag. I don't know if we're going to do that here. But that flag represents hundreds of years of my people being oppressed, my people dying, senselessly because of that flag and what that flag represents, man. It don't have nothing to do with purity. It has nothing at all to do with honesty or upholding, benevolent ideals. It has everything to do with the oppression of blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. So when we burn the flag, when we wipe our behinds with the flag, when we use the flag as a doormat, that's just an outward expression of a protest. It's peaceful. It's a peaceful protest. Keep reading.
Well, try that in a small town. See how far you make it down the road.
It's repetitious. Try that in a small town. What is so significant about these small towns? Why you keep saying small towns? Because most Negroes live in the ghettos in urban areas, right? It's only when we get isolated in small towns where the oppressor, has free reign of local government, has free reign of local law enforcement, and of the businesses where we get mistreated, where we get used and abused. It's that bastard in Columbus County, the sheriff there, Jody, I forget his name, Jody something. But he had made these comments, these racist comments about black people being snakes. Columbus County is one of our neighboring counties, if you didn't know, next to Bladen County. Imagine driving through Columbus County. Who? Jody Green, bastard. Well, he resigned back in 2022. They put him back in office as a sheriff, even after those comments. So you should hear the comments that he made. They got him recorded. The guy that was running against him for sheriff started recording his conversations because he was saying very racist, prejudiced things. He said, any black you got in your department, fire him because he's a snake. That's what Jody was saying. And the people in Columbus County, those people in that small town preferred him to be their sheriff because he held on to their ideals that was popular, and the belief that all blacks are snakes. Right. And this is just 2 counties over. We're in Cumberland County. Columbus County is just beyond Bladen County. Right. Keep reading.
Khan, see how far you make it down the road. Around here, we take care of our own. You cross that line, it won't take long. For you to find out, I recommend you don't. Try that in a small town.
Right.
Got a gun that my granddad gave me.
You got granddaddy's gun now. There we go. Here goes that gun violence. Yosemite Sam. What's the bastard that used to want to shoot up Bugs Bunny? Elmer Fudd.
Salaki, it sounds a lot like gangster music, ain't it?
It damn sure do.
Yeah, you can't come over here on the south side. Huh? South side.
Right.
Yeah, this block 214, ain't it?
Right.
Huh? That sound like gangster music to me.
That's right.
I got a gun that my granddaddy had.
Right.
Oh, you talking about pistols, huh?
And you know what's heavy about that?
Yeah.
Commander General YAHANNA said that's how they always make money.
The gun.
And it boils down to you being at the end of the barrel of that gun. Black man, Hispanic man, Native Indian man. We talk about gun violence and who benefits and who are the losers from gun violence. The Bible says, Judah mourneth. We are in a constant state of grieving because of the gun violence. Perpetrated based off of what? Because you're from 63rd, I'm from 64th? Because you're from Savoy Heights, I'm from Massey Hill? Come on, man. Keep reading.
Come. Got a gun that my granddad gave me.
Right.
They say one day they're going to round up. Well, that sugar honey iced tea might fly in the city. Good luck.
Right.
Try that in a small town. See how far you make it down the road. Around here, we take care of our own. You cross that line, it won't take long. For you to find out, I recommend you don't. Try that in a small town. That must be the chorus. Full of good old boys.
What's a good old boy? What's a good old boy? Anybody seen the Dukes of Hazzard? Y'all remember that? Just a good old boy. You never heard that song? And you think about a good old boy, think about those racist rednecks that live in them backwoods. The good old boy is a euphemism for like a Klansman almost. It's a good old boy, meaning he believes in the idealism of early America. America is full white people, okay? And nobody else. America. He's the one that wears the MAGA hat. He's the one that stormed the Capitol with the Proud Boys and every other racist, right-wing radical sect. Those are the good old boys, okay? Those are the ones that are in the sheriff's department, the local police departments. Those are the ones, you know, that followed Ahmaud Arbery in that truck. Those were good old boys. Ain't nothing good about them. But they holding on to the old ways of America, where we didn't have laws against lynching. I think they just recently passed the anti-lynching law. In this century. Not when it was, you know, niggas was getting lynched, you know, every hour in America. Keep reading.
Full of good old boys raised up right. If you're looking for a fight, try that in a small town. Try that in a small town. Try that in a small town. See how far you make it down the road. Around here, we take care of our own. You cross that line, it won't take long. For you to find out, I recommend you don't. Try that in a small town.
Right. Them good old boys is beyond Waylon Jennings and the Dukes of Hazzard. You know, they put it in your face, and that's sad and sick because we were entertained by that at one point in time. But if you were Black and Hispanic and you lived where the Dukes of Hazzard lived, you would have been oppressed there. You wouldn't have been able to do a wolf whistle at Old Girl and the Daisy Dukes. You wouldn't have been able to do that and survive without seeing the General Lee pull up in your yard doing donuts and they burning the goddamn cross in your front yard. All right, drop that. We all know that Jason Aldean hates so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, okay? What's the next one? You know, go back to the sundown town. I want everybody to understand what a sundown town is. And I want you to pull the book of Deuteronomy. I want you to pull Deuteronomy 28, verse 15 and 16 specifically. Deuteronomy 28, 15 and 16. Yeah, this one right here. Because I use a thumbnail, right? And you're going to see what that thumbnail represents when I posted this class, you know. Just, read that, the illustrations of there you go. Most High in Christ.
It says Sundown Town illustrations. We have tried hard to get a photo of a typical sundown town sign.
Does it have the definition of sundown town on the next page? Go back to another tab. Okay, yeah, go back to that one. Right there. Share that page real quick. Share that tab. All right. So what you're seeing, what you're about to see, is this database that you can go online right now, all right? And you can look this up. There was a man named James W. Llewellyn, and he did a lot of studies on just sociology when you think about race relations. He taught at Tougaloo University in Alabama, You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry, Salakia, Mississippi. It's in Jackson, Mississippi, which is an HBCU, all right, by the way. And he talks about these sundown towns, but he's from Illinois. And I pulled this scripture because it don't matter whether you're in a big city in Illinois or you are in, Jackson, Mississippi, all right? The curses that the Lord said will follow us are going to follow us wherever we are, all right? And read that sundown town.
Using the Sundown Towns database, a database contributed by people across the nation, underlies these maps and the tables you can generate.
Right.
You can help by sending the information information you have about towns new to us, or new information about the towns we
Yeah,
list.
scroll up. And what you can do is you can click on a state, and in that state, it'll show you different counties or different townships that have been deemed sundown towns. And it's really, really interesting when you read of some of the accounts of the people that traveled through these spaces, whether they were Black or Hispanic, and the things that were said to them by the people that lived in that community, or whether it be law enforcement, okay? All right, let's go back to the other page.
I thought it said Southern Palms.
Yeah, sundown town illustrations, okay? Yeah. So when you see this, yeah, Most High in Christ.
It says Sundown Town illustrations. We have tried hard to get a photo of typical Sundown Town sign, but so far without success. A graduate of the U of Tennessee.
Yeah, don't worry about all that. I know that a sundown town, they're very proud of their heritage. They're very proud of, their customs. So before you pull into any town, there's usually signage to let you know you're entering Spring Lake, or you're entering Fayetteville city limits, or you're entering Hope Mills, right? I know before on 95, it'll say the Ku Klux Klan welcomes you to Fayetteville, North Carolina. All right. That was a real sign. That was a real sign. And it was letting you know that this is a sundown town. And if you were Black, Hispanic, or Native Indian, you were traveling through in the 40s, the 30s, 40s, 50s, the early 60s, we had resources at our disposal. Google Green Book. And the Green Book will let you know where it was safe for so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians to travel. Yeah. And they'll let you know, out with the NAACP, we intend to keep this neighborhood white. We want this nigger moved. When we talking about restrictive racial covenants, you talk about redlining, you talk about urbanization or urban renewal. James Baldwin coined it as Negro removal. If you're Black, Hispanic, or Native Indian, you have never been desired. Zephaniah 2:1 lets you know that, according to what the scriptures say. We are a nation that's not desired. And in us not being desired, we are resourceful. We had to come up with the Green Book to let other Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians know where they could go fill up for gas and not be harassed, where they could go and get food while they were on the road traveling, where they could have accessible lodging, what motels or hotels they could stay in when they're traveling on the road, all right? And I think that someone attempted to come up with a Green Book today because it's still needed. We still need to know what businesses welcome so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. All right? Yeah, there it is, the Green Book. There it is. But I want to go back to, if you can. Don't worry about that. Who cares about the damn Japanese? They got their own country they can live in. You can keep sharing the page. Yeah, keep sharing that one page because I want you to scroll up to see that donkey. That donkey was like, man, the hair on my neck stood up when I saw that donkey. Yeah, keep scrolling up. No, you was right. You was right there. Yeah, scroll up on that page. So all these are images of signage and different postings that you would see that were commonplace when it came down to spaces that were not accepting of so-called black people being in the space. That donkey right there. I want you to read that. Yeah, there's a donkey. You see that donkey? If you ever see that donkey, just know that that's significant with. Read that if you can, Baba Kashaw.
This sign still stands, painted on a rock face just west of Liberty, Tennessee. The symbol, a black mule, was used by residents of sundown towns in Arkansas, Kentucky, Missouri, and Tennessee to warn African Americans to get their black behinds.
Now read it the way it is in quotation.
In quotation, says to warn African Americans to get their black ass outside the city limits by sundown. Margaret Allen photographed this example in 2003.
That was just in 2003. Get your black ass out of town before the sun goes down. This is American culture. This is what Jason Aldean is referring to. Okay? This is the way of life that he wants to get back to. If you Black, Hispanic, or Native Indian, you got to understand there's a value in removing your spirit from this place. When we talk about separate from America, we're not talking about rescinding your citizenship. We're not talking about you going back to Africa. We're talking about you stop celebrating American holidays. Do away with American culture. Stop standing for the Pledge of Allegiance and stop standing and crying for the national anthem. All right? Stop eating pork, shrimp, crab, and lobster. Stop celebrating your birthday, Father's Day, Mother's Day, Christmas, the 4th of July. Stop celebrating, white society's culture and learn your culture. The only place where it's being taught is within the Israelite School, Universal Practical Knowledge, under Commanding General YAHANNA, man. And that's my time. I'm going to bring up the priest, this priest and prophet, Quadam Bun YAHAWADAH, to read the security announcements.
Clap it up.
Gucci.
Come. We are the Isupk, start out of 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York. Rule for new brother and sister. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months.
Right.
They are to be saluted only. They are here to share themselves of the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There is another 6 months in which the brother and sister will court each other. After this 6-month period, the brother and sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment, Numbers 18 and 21, Malachi 3, 8 through 10, means tenth in the Hebrew, ma'ashra, 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you. Give to the treasury department or teacher. Priest fund, free will offer for priests, not mandatory, whatsoever amount you would like. Upcoming Holy Convocation, we have the memorial blowing of trumpets, which is the first day of the 7th month, which is Sunday the 25th, September the 20th. Salakia. That's not right. Where is it? Oh, okay. Come. Friday, the 15th, September 2023. Salakia. Understand? Check on all your bulletin boards, man, for the upcoming, events and things like that, which is what the Chicago Cookout.
Right.
It's going to be this weekend. You understand? Ran by or done by they say the Midwest Monster of Mayhem. You understand? Captain Amara Choir, you understand, man? And Commander General YAHANNA will be doing a lecture for World War III, you understand, and why it's inevitable. Check on to, you understand, what is it? Ask You the Prophets, Chain Breakers, Cross the Line Radio, man, all the podcasts and things like that we have, man, to help us further push this truth. If anyone want to be a troop in the school, to start wearing all black boots, shirts, pants, headband, and scarf. And with that, I imagine, men and stand, sisters, be seated, stay seated, Baba Kasha. Men of Israel, we're going to render one courteous salute to the teacher. Mina Israel, Amam Shabbat, Imajim, Barak, Yahweh Shimi Abashah Brakatah, Yahya Matah, Sar, Mina turn. Sisters, Imajim, Mina stand. Mina Israel, we're going to render one courteous salute to the sisters. Mina Israel, Amam Shabbat, Imajim, Barak, Yahweh Shemal Athaba Shimi Abashah, Yahya Matah, class dismissed.